So I thought we could start off with sort of you explaining what the past year has been like.
Yeah.
With the K's, you were, you know, you had loads of festivals lined up. It's going to be a great year last year. Then obviously COVID happened and you went back to your old job. So sort of, how's the last year been with balancing sort of that? Because you were still making music, weren't you, in lockdown?
Yeah, and I think because the first lockdown we had to be really strict. Jamie had some physical health issues, so he had to shield and stuff. But then afterwards, because we'd registered as a company just before, because we was doing quite well, and money was coming in. We registered as a company with Company House, so we could actually meet up to practice during lockdown. When restrictions was lifted and stuff like that. So in 2020, just after March, when it became the lockdown, we spent that year writing because we were allowed to meet up and stuff like that. We did at the start. We did value on over WhatsApp and stuff. That was the first lockdown when we couldn't meet up.
Yeah.
Amy and Ryan released Valley One, didn't they? But then after that, we wrote a couple of songs, and then towards the end of 2020, when the restrictions were lifted, we went into the studio and recorded them. So we got some good demos down. But yeah, like you say, we all had to think about what we was going to be. Luckily, I could go back and do nursing. Ryan could go back to his job. Jordan managed to get a job, and Jamie managed to keep his job as well. But other than that, we would have been screwed if we didn't have professions. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we were the band, we would have been screwed.
How hard was it? Like, because with you working, like you said, you were working night shifts. How hard is it doing that and then going and writing music? Like, how do you have the energy to do that?
It's hard. Luckily, I try and write music, but it's never as good as Jamie and Ryan and that can write.
Probably helps that you've got a few years to collaborate together.
Yeah. Like I do try and write songs, and I do bring them to the band, and we all do as individuals. But certain members are really better at that. But yeah, it was very difficult because obviously I had to leave in January because I was doing too many hours and then too many gigs at the same time. So I was getting back from London at 4 a.m, and then because it's shift work, I was going in at 10, trying to practice as a nurse when you've had no sleep. It's not good.
Yeah.
It's hard, especially with my shift work. The lads can be like 9 to 5, so you can go after, but I can finish at 8 at sometimes. You know what I mean? And be on nights and that. What was the original question again?
How did you sort of balance it? Like, how hard was it to do that?
It was hard at first. Before the COVID happened, I had to quit work because it was too difficult. But with COVID, because we've actually not had anything to practice and get into a routine for, we've been able to move practices and be relaxed. Like before that, we was practicing every set amount of times a week.
Yeah.
And it was too much. We was all stressed. We was all coming in, having to manage a job and then manage the band. And then it's very stressful, to be quite honest, especially because we have challenging professions as well. At the time, Jordan was traveling around primary schools and secondary schools teaching children how to be in a band for a company called Rocksteady. So he was managing loads of little kids shouting and screaming, trying to teach them how to play guitar and drums. Ryan was a building surveyor, so he was having loads of work that he had to have reports in and stuff. And Jamie worked with naughty kids in our old school. He's like a teacher, Jamie, at our old school, but for challenging children. So he's putting up with those little shits all day. Jordan's putting up with his little shits all day. Ryan's got reports coming out of his eyes, and I'm having to deal with fucking suicidal people. So you can imagine when we come to practice and something doesn't go well, it's all at each other's throats sometimes. And it's definitely difficult to manage with the professions that we have as well. I'd love to work in Aldi or something like that, me, I'm not gonna lie.
So touching on your profession specifically a bit more, like what sort of does that entail on a day-to-day basis? What do you do in a normal day at work? Or is there a normal day at work?
That's why I kind of like the job that I do, because every day is going to be different in terms of what's going to come through the door. At the minute, I'm doing like crisis and home treatment work. So it literally is the front line of somebody's saying they're going to go and end their own life. They come and I have to assess them at that point and, determine what's the best thing for that person. When I first qualified, I went onto a female acute ward. So it's 16 beds, female inpatient ward. I did that for 18 months, and that's where like you get your basics of, you see every different type of mental illness. You see him at the worst, you see him at the best, you see him get better, you see him go home. But at the minute, for me, it's a lot of crisis work. So getting referrals from GPs, emergency referrals, having to assess them and stuff like that. People can just turn up and ring up as well, you know, if they're struggling, or it's madness. I think it's uncomprehendable, and it's hard to describe to somebody what day to day, like, you know, without it like putting people off as well. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to sit here and say, I have 5 people come to me today saying who's going to jump off a bridge. You know what I mean? It's hard to explain, and I don't want to put a negative light on it, because I get, you know,
it's very important work, isn't it? Especially like at the moment, because over the past year, have you noticed more people have been coming to you? Like, you know, because mental health has been so important during the pandemic, you know, people in isolation and that.
Of course. There's been a massive increase since COVID in referrals. So like the acuity of the team, the amount of people that we're having to deal with has gone up massively. And a lot of sad situations have happened as well. I'm not going off what I can't speak about what we go through at work, but in terms, if you look on social media and you look on these Facebook pages, and missing people, young people committing suicide, completing suicide, I've noticed on social media that I've been seeing more of those sorts of posts, people struggling and stuff like that. I can't go on national statistics because I've not read them before we've done the interview. I don't know if the suicide rate has gone up. I don't know. But for me, it's very acute at work. And I think as well, because GPs aren't seeing patients who are struggling. So anybody that's ringing the GP and saying, you know, I'm struggling with my mental health, I'm struggling with this and that, they're getting an e-consult. Putting an e-consult in, your GP's ringing you for 15 minutes, and straight away what they're doing is referring into our service. And then we have to do a complete assessment of that. So that has just gone through the roof with these e-consults, the amount of referrals that we've been receiving, and it doesn't meet the criteria that it should be. For example, you know, you ring up your GP and say, my girlfriend's finished me, I've got a broken heart. They wouldn't refer you to the cardiologist, would they? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
But they're referring to specialist mental health for things that we can't help people with, that sort of stuff. We're for acute illness, not for, you know, relationship breakdowns, stuff like that. You know, people not being able to cope with the lockdown. There's no magic cure for that, is there?
No.
I can go on tangents here, so you might have to rein me in with some of these questions.
No, it's great. It's great. There's, you know, it's an important topic, especially at the moment.
It is an important topic. Like me and Jamie wanted to do something in terms of like a podcast about mental health and stuff like that, and speaking about it on a platform where it's normalized. It's taboo, isn't it? People don't want to mention it. You know, it's fucking rife. People who are struggling, you know, with anxiety and feeling low and stuff like that, and depression, and a massive part of it is drug use as well. In amongst young people now, you know, drug use is normalized, specific drugs, and people will be struggling with the mental health, and you know, and they think that it's the mental health, but it's not. It's what they're choosing to do at the weekend, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's good to talk about that and educate people. Actually, you know, are you struggling? What life choices can you make to improve your mental health? Because, you know, there is basics that you can do as a person that you don't need somebody really to tell you, which is, you know, eat healthy, do some exercise, stop drinking as much alcohol, and don't take drugs.
Yeah.
Basics, isn't it?
It's as simple as that, isn't it?
It is. If you want to help yourself, if you feel like you're struggling with your mental health, and you can think about what you're doing, how you're living your life. Are you eating properly? You know, are you getting at least half an hour exercise a day? You know, and are you taking any substances? You know, caffeine can be a substance. If you're drinking 16 cups of coffee a day and then you're saying you can't sleep, or, you know, your heart's beating fast, or you're feeling anxious, you're probably taking too much caffeine. It can come down to little things like that, can't it, as well? Not just illicit substances.
Yeah. That's already covered my next question there, which would be, what advice would you give? So,
you know, think about the basics. You know, exercise is a massive. I know when I felt down. The job that I do has made me feel down, because, you know, you're dealing with some heavy stuff. Do you know what I mean? And exercise is a massive one for me. If I know I'm getting half an hour's exercise a day, endorphins, feeling better about yourself. It's a massive thing that I would advise young people to get into some form of exercise or, sport.
Yeah. How can people
stop taking drugs?
How can people sort of motivate themselves to do that? Do they just need to get out there and do it? Or
depends, because loads of people are individually different, aren't they? If somebody's struggling to actually find motivation, again, if it's in terms of depression and motivation, go and speak to somebody if you can't get out of bed. If you're struggling to go and motivate yourself to wash, to eat properly, to get up in the morning, have a good sleep, go and speak to somebody about that, because it could be depression, and it could be something that you might be able to get some form of medication for. But aside from that, if you're not, but you are struggling to go for a run and stuff like that, it's small steps, isn't it? Small steps, like rather than doing a full half an hour's exercise, do 10 minutes. You know what I mean? See how you feel after that. I know when I go for a run, when I set off, until I get back, I hate every single minute of it, and I think, why have I done it? Why have I done it? It's when you get to the end that you notice the benefit. It's hard to try and instill motivation with somebody, but when you get to the end of hard work, that's when you notice the benefit. You've just got to understand that it is hard work at the end of the day, and you're gonna have to put up with some form of suffering for a gain, aren't you?
Yeah. So with your job and with seeing people who do suffer to like the most extreme point, so is exercise the most important thing for you personally when you're coping with your own sort of issues?
Yeah, in terms of my own issues, definitely. Cut out the ale, stop drinking too much, eat healthily is a massive thing. If you eat crap, you're going to think crap, aren't you, as well? And the more crap you eat, the more you crave crap food.
Yeah.
So mine was a big thing, was my diet and stuff, and keeping myself occupied. If I sit there and think about things and don't, and I forget, what I'll do is I'll get home now and I'll look at a cooking book recipe, get the ingredients, go to Tesco, get the stuff, come back, spend a couple of hours cooking something nice, eat it, and then go to bed after, like a run or before a run. That's what I have to do to help myself. Otherwise, I'd come home and I'd open a bottle of wine and I'd have 3 glasses before I order a pizza, or I'll put a pizza in the oven, and then I'll finish that bottle of wine and maybe have 2 more beers and then go to bed. And then I wake up and it's not, for me, it made me struggle more. But I thought it was a coping mechanism, because after a hard day, I do look at a glass of wine or something like that, or some form of alcohol to help, after a difficult day at work. That's something that I've looked at, that I've had to address myself, because it was getting out of hand and it wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
In terms of people at the worst of the worst, in terms of mental health, we need professional intervention, and if my only advice would be, if I know, going back to the GP referrals, and I was getting a lot of pointless referrals, but I don't want to discourage people to go and speak to somebody if it is serious, if they are at that point.
Yeah. So is there any websites or anything you can recommend to people if they're not really comfortable calling someone up? Or
I think there's I should know these, because like I put them in my assessments and I read them out to people and stuff. If I'm speaking to someone on the phone, but because I'm at work, I don't have them next to the computer. I think there's like mind.com, stuff like that. I know people can ring the Samaritans as well. There's a new initiative out. There's a crisis line now, which is just been rolled out across England, I think now, where it's the first point of contact for people who are in a crisis or who are in a mental health crisis, and they have like a biopsychosocial screening. So if you ring that number, I know in Warrington it's 0800 051 150, but if you just Google it, there's a new initiative in England now that every area has to have a crisis line. And that in itself is a good form of getting advice, because you go through quite an extensive form with a practitioner who then gives you advice at the end. Yeah. So I'd say contact the crisis line as advice for people at the moment in terms of their area. Google the local crisis line, give it a call. If you're struggling with your mental health, don't just give them a chat,
Yeah.
What was the original question? I keep forgetting, going on tangents.
That covered it. Yeah, that was perfect. So, working for the NHS, obviously in the past year, you've received a lot of NHS as a whole has received a lot of love from the public. And how did you feel when the clap started, when you saw people clapping, being part of the NHS? How did that feel?
People felt like, well, what's the clap going to do for us? Clap's not a pay rise, clap's not coming in and look, but I didn't see it like that, because at the end of the day, it was something that the people did, not the government. The government are, in essence, having our pants down, aren't they? With underfunding, especially in mental health, there's chronic underfunding. But yeah, I thought that it brought a sense of community. I thought it was a good thing more than anything. A lot of NHS workers thought it was a negative thing. Oh, it's not a pay rise. It's not, it's not doing anything. But it brought a sense of community, didn't it? It felt like everybody was stood with us and appreciated the work that we was doing.
Yeah.
People can't give anything else, can they? They can't just fork out money and pay us more and fund it more, So I thought I was grateful of it. I was coming home from work one day and I was driving down the fucking street and it happened to be 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, whenever they did the fucking clap. Well embarrassed.
Oh, wow. Oh, someone should have filmed that.
I know, yeah. I don't want to know who lives on my street. Like an episode of Shameless, that.
What is your opinion on like the government's treatment of the NHS? And you said, the public has been brilliant, but what about the government? What more do they need to do for the NHS as a whole and your area of it?
No, this could get deep. This now, this could get deep. I'm going to stick to obviously, basic. There's chronic underfunding in mental health. We can't recruit nurses. The big change when I chose to do nursing, it was free. That's why a person like me, you wouldn't if you'd known me in high school, nobody would have said he's going to be a mental health nurse. At the last minute, I thought it's a free degree. It's not going to cost me any money to go and do it. And I had some background information and I was slightly interested in it. And it was a free degree. Now, when I was doing my 3 years, towards the end of the 3 years, they changed it and now nurses have to pay £9,000 a year. Tuition fees, it's changed again. We can't recruit nurses. You're making nurses pay £9,000 a year, but people 2 years before got it for free. There's chronic underfunding in terms of there's no inpatient beds, but then they say, well, we should treat people at home, but then there's no staff to treat people at home because we can't recruit nurses. And my actual opinion on the government and the NHS is I think they want it to fail because I think they want to privatise it. That's my opinion on the be-all and end-all of it, is that they want half of the mental health cost for this country is paid to private companies anyway. The most difficult patients sit in private mental health hospitals, and they're costing thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds because the NHS, they won't fund more NHS specialist mental health beds. All the specialist mental health beds in England are private companies like Elysium, Partnerships in Care, all American companies in England. And that's one of the biggest bills in mental health, is the pay for all these specialist beds, but they won't give the NHS specialist beds. They'd rather pay these big companies. So half of the mental health treatment in England is paid to private companies. And that's why it's failed. One of the reasons why it's failing, I think they want it to fail.
Yeah, so they can treat it as more of a business than a health service.
They can privatise it rather than taking pride in what fantastic, the National Health Service we have, one of the best in the world. Rather than taking pride in that, they've got doctors working for pittance, doing ridiculous hours, junior doctors, studying A&E on their own for £22,000 a year, having done 6 years medical training. It's a good job. The NHS is ran off the goodwill of people. The people who are working for the NHS, they're the people that are keeping this failing ship alive because it's sinking fast. Do you know what I mean? And it's the goodwill of all the workers that's keeping it where it is, not the government. The government fucking wants it to fail. Private side, they can afford private healthcare, can't they?
Yeah. Oh yeah, could talk for hours about that.
Obviously, down a rabbit hole there, mate.
I think that was a good time to move on to maybe something a bit lighter, let's say.
Yeah.
You had a good chat about that there. So let's talk about the future. Sort of, what are you hoping to achieve with the band in the next few years?
We've always prided ourselves on live performance. That's why we play wherever we can and we put our all into our live performance. That's what that's our like baby. So we've got all these gigs coming up now. In terms of the festivals have booked us again. We've managed to get main stage at Isle of Wight. But in terms of a future, what do we want as a band and how do we see the future? We're in talks with labels. I think that's what our next step really is, to get a label that's going to benefit us and that we want behind us. So we're in talks with some majors and stuff like that. But it's a difficult time. You know, we was talking just before the pandemic, and then the pandemic's put it all on a hold for 2 years. So we're like back under the renegotiation stage, you know, talking to people, getting it out there, because at the end of the day, our past has made us very cautious about our future in terms of where we release music, who we release music with, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Live performance, we've boxed off, you know, we love doing that. We'll play anywhere, you know, we've got all those dates.
Yeah.
But we're treading with caution through past experience with what we're doing in the future in terms of releasing our music. The last one we did a self-release, which was TV.
A music video as well.
Yeah, yes, that was all ours. We've done that ourselves. There's no label on that, you know, there's no backing on that.
Yeah.
There's pros to that, but there's also cons as well. It's a very competitive industry, so I don't think we can continue to do that.
Yeah. So when you do it, is it all completely self-funded? Do you have to find all the people to shoot the video yourself?
Yeah. Everything from Aurora has been self. Yeah.
So you did work with Alan McGee, didn't you? Was that for Aurora? What was that like working with him?
Yeah, it was fun. We got to meet Alan. You know, he treated us well. We had a laugh when we met him. I don't know, God knows how much his bar bill was, but he said, you know, drink as much as you want, lads, and we took advantage of that. You know, it was good. He put us in a studio in London and stuff like that. He released all released all the coloured vinyls, so many vinyls. The deal was a single and so many vinyls. It's like a boutique label that he's got where he releases it all on limited edition vinyl. So it was never a full long-term signing that we had with him. The agreement was a single with a B-side on limited edition vinyl. So it was a good experience. He put us in a studio down in London. We recorded the 2 songs. I think it was like 2 or 3 days or something like that. He was recording a documentary at the time as well. So whenever he was having cameras following him as well. So it was good, you know, good exposure when they come out and stuff like that. Overall, good experience, but I don't think that there was no longevity in the initial deal.
Yeah.
It was just, you know, that one single.
What did you learn from that experience as a band? Because obviously he's worked with Oasis, you know, he discovered them. So what did you learn as a band from that, you know, has benefited you?
I don't think we learned that much, to be honest, because whenever we was with him, we never really spoke about it. We spoke about funny stories. You know, what's he like? What did he do? What did he? So it was constantly like him talking about his experiences in terms of stories and stuff. You know, because he was inquisitive about the life that he's led. Obviously, how the fuck did he? You know, what went on basically.
Yeah.
So we never really talked business with him. We did in a certain extent, because obviously, you know, you need a major label now. You know, they hold the key to radio, Spotify playlists, all those kind of things. That the key is held by a major label now, and that's why it's so difficult for young bands to get anywhere and to break through. You know, in terms of that, the competition's just it's too difficult when major labels hold the key to all these different exposures, like radio play, like Spotify playlists. The way that sorry, I'm going on a tangent here now, but when we released Sarajevo's a self-release. Now, when we released Sarajevo, Spotify, they was having people choose, you know, go through new music and choose who got put on playlists and stuff like that. And we ended up getting chose to go on a playlist, which then got us put onto a bigger playlist in a bigger play. And that's how we ended up with 2 million views on Spotify, because we got playlisted. None of our songs have ever been playlisted after that one, because it changed. And the person who was playlisting us left and got a different job or moved up or whatever. And the way that it got chosen who goes on playlists changed. And I think it went off initial plays rather than people going through songs and saying, oh, that's all right, we'll put that there. That's, you know, it went off like some form of statistic, how many liked songs on so many, you know, like when people download on the iTunes and all the charts and stuff like that. I don't know how it's changed, but it fucking changed anyway.
Do you think that's quite harmful to like up and coming bands, the way that's changed?
Yeah, definitely. Because that's, at the end of the day, that's where most people are getting the plays from now, is on playlists, aren't they? on Spotify playlists, to be quite honest. Everybody's going through Spotify at the moment, aren't they, in terms of, because there's uproar with that as well, aren't they, because they're not paying the musicians that much money per stream. They're making billions. I know musicians, some protest about that, isn't there, at the moment?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think so massively, because Spotify playlists is what got Sarajevo all those plays at the end of the day, and that's what kind of catapulted us into the forefront of people. Fucking hell, you know, hang on a minute, why has that got so many plays? And you know, it snowballs, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I think that's what set us on the journey that we're on. The fact that we got playlisted with a first self-release like that, and it just got so many views. We wouldn't be here today if that didn't happen. Do you get what I mean? So for a new band not getting that, if you look at a new band now and they've got 500 plays of the song, you're less likely to be going, oh, it's only got 500 plays, aren't you?
Yeah.
If it's a new band, that's what you go off, don't you? You look, you know, they've got so many plays. Look at that.
Are there any like small bands that you like the K's have got an eye on who might be supporting them at future gigs or whatever?
I'm not gonna lie, I listen to that much different music. I don't really listen to new bands. People ask all the time, oh, you know, and I should do. I kind of think they're probably bands that are probably bigger than us that I'd mentioned. Do you know what I mean? And Serotonin, there's a band, local lads that have supported us. I think they'll go far. Different type of genre music, but you know, I really like them. They're called Serotonin. I can't think off the top of my head. I think there's a young band. Is the Afternoon People? Are they one? So I don't know. I don't listen to them. I'm not gonna lie. I know the band names, but I don't listen to them.
Yeah.
I listen to all kinds of shite, mate. Honestly, I don't. And it's bad because I should try and, you know, suggest them and stuff like that and look out for people, but I'm not at the moment. I'm listening to all kinds of crap other than new bands.
What have you been listening to during lockdown then? What's kept you going?
A lot of dance music, to be quite honest. My mum and dad was proper into dance music in the 90s. My dad was like a DJ in the 90s, so I was brought up listening to like house music and dance music. You say that's why I'm called Dexter, because my mum and dad was, you know, doing all kinds in the 90s, and they thought they'd name me after the Dex because my dad was a DJ. Anyway, so I've been listening to a lot of dance music because I'm trying to exercise as well. I'm trying to do that, trying to produce some form of dance music. I'm struggling to write indie band songs at the moment, so I thought I'll start doing some dance music instead.
Okay, how's that going?
So not going very well at the moment. I'm at the very early stages of trying to get to grips with what I need to do. But you know, small steps at a time. Yeah. So I listen to a lot of dance music. I listen to all kinds of stuff, to be quite honest with you. It depends what mood I'm in. If I'm in a sad mood, I'll listen to sad music. I'm a bit freaky like that.
No, it does help to listen to some when you're feeling down, just sad songs. Just they make you feel more comfortable, I suppose.
I listen to music for, you know, the emotion that it makes me feel at the end of the day. That's why I listen to it. So if I want to feel a particular emotion, or you know, I like the emotion that this song gave me, then I'll listen to it. You know, that's what I kind of listen to, rather than thinking, oh, that's a good indie banger, isn't it? That's a good indie banger, innit? You know, I'll listen to fucking all kinds of crap, Anthony and the Johnsons, stuff like that. You know, anything.
Who were your biggest like musical influences when you were younger?
When we was younger, it was bands like The View. Did you ever listen to The View?
I've heard of them, yeah. I've not listened to them.
I've been watching them about 6 times. In terms of who we looked up to, we wanted to be like a band like The View. You know, the Zootons was big back then and stuff like that. The Kooks, but bands like that we was looking up to. The Strokes, loved the Strokes. So we was listening to that in high school because we thought it was cool, and that's what we wanted to be like. You know, in an indie band.
Yeah. I think you've really like found your own identity now as a band, especially with like TV I thought it was really unique in the music video as well. I thought you found your own identity really in the past year or so. And like
definitely, I agree with that.
What would you say makes the K's the most special?
To be quite honest with you, and this is why I don't listen to much young bands as well. I was fed up of going watching young bands and bands and up and coming bands, and you can't understand what they're saying. When you go to a gig and you watch a band, you want to understand the lyrics and what they're saying. What are they trying to talk about? What's the song about? And a lot of it was just noise. You go and watch bands and you think, what's he saying there? What's that lyric? What line is he saying? And I think that's what I like about Jamie you can fully understand the words that he's saying when he's singing them. You know, you can follow the kind of storyline to it. And that goes to live as well. When you come and watch us live, it's crisp. You know, you can understand the lyrics. I think that's massive. What was the original question? I've gone on a tangent again.
Just what sort of stands out? What makes the case special?
I think, you know, the quality of the lyrics and the story that each song tells is a massive thing. If it's, you know, what are you singing about? What is that song about? What you're trying to communicate? You know, each song's got a story that I could tell you. Oh, that's about that. That's about this. I know that's because I'm in the band, but I think people can make reference to that when they listen to the music as well. So I think that's individual. I think it's just a fucking happy accident, to be quite honest with you. I think we've all fell into place and it's like a happy accident. I do. It's hard to pinpoint because I don't want to like kind of boast and say, oh, it's this and that, you know, we're doing this and that and this good. I think it's a happy accident, mate. I think we've just kind of fell in place and we can all get in a room and fucking write good songs.
Yeah.
Catch it. It's mad. I've been in loads of crap bands and loads of bands in the past, you know what I mean? It's one of those things. I think it's just a happy accident. All of us in the right place at the right time. The way that we got Jordan in the band elevated it. The more that we practice together and play together, the songs that we've got recorded now are fucking, I don't want to be like big-headed about it and stuff like that, but they could be up there with the best. Do you know what I mean? And it's getting better. It is getting better. We've got songs coming out of our arse. We just need to get them out.
Are you going to be like playing some of them at the festivals this year, or that you're going to keep them?
Oh. I think we're probably, because the songs have developed and we've developed as musicians. So like when we play an old song now, I'm thinking, fucking hell, I can remember writing this a bit basic, and you know, like the music's progressing as well. So we want to play all the new stuff. So yeah, we'll be throwing a couple. Well, obviously we have to stick with what we've got released, but yeah, we'll be chucking a couple of new ones in there, definitely.
Oh, very good. One question I wanted to ask you, which I think a lot of people will actually be interested in, is where did your nickname, the Bastard Bassist, come from?
When I don't know, it kind of being a bastard basically. When I was younger, I've been a little shit when I've been younger, and even when I'm drunk now, and when, you know, out with the lads and stuff, I have been a bastard. In a never in a nasty way or anything like that, but you know, in the past I've had a fruitful past in terms of going out. I can't say too much because of my profession and stuff like that. I mean, this is what's very difficult between me, because people who know me on a personal level and then people who know me on a professional level, it's like you wouldn't put the two together, you know. Yeah, but I'm focusing on trying to exercise and not drink as much alcohol at the moment. So
maybe it'll be maybe we'll get a more exercise-based nickname soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like there's a bit of a persona as well where, you know, I'll just be a bastard for a laugh. I'm not actually a bastard. I'm quite there. I'm a fucking nurse, do you know what I mean? But yeah, I'll just be a bastard for the laughs with the lads, you know. The bastard.
Makes it entertaining when you're on stage as well.
Yeah. It's a bit of a persona, really. I'm not a bastard, like, but I'll fucking play the bastard if it makes people laugh. And fucking, I'm a joker, mate. I'm a bad joker, even at work. If people are laughing, I'll continue to do what I'm fucking doing. Like,
yeah. That's important in your job, isn't it, to be able to do that?
If you don't laugh, I'm gonna cry. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Honestly, like, I mean, work colleagues will probably back me up on this. I fucking make sure we have a laugh at work, even if we're in the most difficult of times when there's stress and we've got loads of crisis going on. You've got to laugh. You've got to laugh about it. You've got to fucking enjoy your time at work and have a scream. And we do it with a band as well. Like, the lads will tell you, all we do is fucking laugh, and that's why it's so enjoyable, because, you know, we're traveling to England just laughing our heads off about daft shit, playing fucking silly beggars, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just having a laugh, it's massively important.
When you've been like touring and doing gigs, what's been like your favourite moment or your highlight?
Well, the highlight is being on the ferry home from the Isle of Wight festival, because the sun was just going down, the sea was dead calm, we was all on the ale pissed, you know. We stood on the front of the thingy like Titanic, me and Jamie, Leonardo and Rose. And so that was a highlight of last year. The highlight of the year before that was probably Kendal Calling Festival. Oh, and last year as well, because we'd gone up a stage, so we'd gone to a bigger stage at Kendal Calling, and they couldn't get any more people in the tent. They had to close the tent when we was playing. It was just a proper scream. So they offered us the main stage this year, the year that's just been cancelled, because, you know, we've gone up the stages and done that. So that was a dead good highlight, coming back home on the, like buggies, when you get buggies across like campsite, we sat on these buggies, and somebody shouted some like form of abuse to me and Ryan, and we was pissed on the back of this buggy, and we shouted something like that. So we've given him back, you know, you're fucking, this. Next week the buggy stopped. This dude was stood there with all his mates, and to be fair, he shit out as well. So and we shit out, but it was funny because we were screaming abuse to this lad, saying, "Oh, you little yeah," and then he was screaming it back, and then all of a sudden it just stopped, and we was both looking at each other, and we both shit it. You know what I mean? Little stories like that, and being in the van as well, in between shows. That's when we have the most laughs, because we have to do a lot of travelling, so you can't stay there. Play the gig, you pack up, then you drive home. But so we always get bladdered in the van and have a laugh. We've had some funny times trying to chuck cups of wee out the window, so you don't stop. Yeah.
What was it like when you did? Where was it you went to? Croatia, was it?
Yeah.
What was it? What was it like when you performed there?
Croatia was a funny one. So in Croatia, we won the competition, which was where Alan McGee was judge of the competition, wasn't he? And the winner got to play at the festival. And that's where we first met Alan McGee. So we won that competition. So it was low budget. The festival didn't really want us to go there. We'd won a competition in England. You know, we was the first band on the main stage on the first day.
Yeah. So
we go over there. We didn't have a tent, we didn't have a pillow, we just had our guitars. We had to try and find a tent when we got there. But anyway, you can imagine the festival holds like 40,000 people. So the stage is huge, everything's huge. We're the first band on the first day. As we start playing, that's when they open the gates out. So we played to about 4 or 5 people on a venue that could have had 40,000, because we won the competition. We was the first band on the first day. So there's 4 people there.
Oh, wow.
So that was an experience in itself. But in terms of the holiday and the experience we had, it was one of the best times of my life. But we played to 4 people of a capacity of 40,000. So you can imagine it was just like 3 dots. We were on the stage. It's like a practice, really. And then in Serbia, when we played there, they actually booked us, Serbia. When we played there, we played at 3 a.m.
Oh, wow.
The crowd was good, the stage was big, but we got there at 9 o'clock at night, and they give us like a bottle of gin, bottle of JD, 24, Heineken. We was on stage at 3 a.m. So we drank all that before we'd gone on stage at 3. And yeah, we was really, really drunk, and it shows in the performance. It's the only full set that we've got on YouTube, and it's our worst performance.
Oh, no. It's a good story, though.
Yeah. That's what happens when you book us to play at 3 a.m. Bad idea. And give us loads of ale. Yeah. So they would experience it themselves, yeah.
Out of all those places you've been, like, which is like the best venue or the best city to perform in, including like those ones in Croatia and Serbia?
Croatia and Serbia, the festivals themselves, I'd definitely play them again. The best venue, my favourite venue is the Roundhouse in Camden. In terms of my favourite venue to play, because it's just, have you ever seen pictures of the Roundhouse?
Yeah,
it's a fucking class venue. So I always say that's my favourite venue that we've played in, the best venue. In terms of cities, we always get a good reaction in Newcastle, because Jamie and his dad and that, they're like big Newcastle fans, are from Newcastle and stuff like that. So when we've gone there, me and the lads never go there really. I know Ryan's got a sister that lives in Durham. So when we go there and we get that reaction because of Jamie and his dad and stuff like that, that's always a good laugh. So I always enjoy Newcastle, because it's a riot because of, you know, their roots to it and stuff.
Yeah.
But like our hometown, in terms of where we like playing at home, is Manchester, because again, the reaction that we get there, that's how we sold out the Ritz and stuff like that. We can get a good number in Manchester, and it's always a riot. So Manchester and Newcastle are the best cities. And then the best venue that I think we've played is the Roundhouse.
Yeah.
In Camden. It's a fucking class venue, that. I'd love to sell it out one day.
Oh yeah, one day, hopefully.
I've been swearing throughout this. Is that all right?
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. I've got one final question for you. Yeah, so I got the idea for this question from watching a lot of interviews with footballers, right? So everyone always asks a footballer, like, what's your dream 5-a-side? You know, they'll pick number of players from like throughout history. But I want to sort of put a little twist on that and ask you, if you could have like a dream festival lineup. So pretend like the K's are headlining, whatever festival you want. You can choose a festival, or you can like put one festival in another location, whatever you want. You pick 4 or 5 artists or bands, dead or alive, to go on with you, before you or after you, however you want. What 4 or 5 bands or artists would you pick?
The Beatles would have to be on there. Michael Jackson. I'd have Michael Jackson playing.
Oh yeah.
He'd be a good fucking headliner in. Who else? Queen. I'd have Queen on. Red Hot Chili Peppers. The Cure. Only because I've seen them at Croatia and they're fucking unbelievable, The Cure. Who else would I have? Fucking tough one this, because I'd have loads. Use my own festival. I could have my own festival. What about you, would you think would be the best headliners? Definitely Queen or Michael Jackson or Jimi Hendrix or something like that, the Beatles.
Yeah.
Those big artists like that, Fleetwood Mac. That Fleetwood Mac on defo.
Yeah.
Difficult one. The Strokes. You could just keep naming bands.
Oh, you got narrow it down to 4 then. Try and narrow it down to just 4.
Right, okay. Queen.
Yeah.
The Beatles. Michael Jackson.
Mm-hmm. One more.
The Strokes.
In that order?
Oh, now you're talking a different thing. You would headline out with Michael Jackson and the Queen.
Put them on together.
Yeah. Collaborate with that. You know, if you're Michael Jackson, fucking hell. Yeah, that order.
Yeah.
You see, I'm choosing the 4 now because I'm thinking Bob Dylan in my head and fucking all time. We'll stick with them now.
Yeah. I think that's a good note to end it on. Just want to say thank you again for doing that.